the CNAF in Washington, there were students from every university that offered music ed. All the CNAFME chapters had their own banquet night, and the keynote speakers, they had the keynote speaker like go to the college banquet and talk to the college students. It's like future music educators, and it's all music educators. So it's elementary, orchestra, band. It was great. And I really like, okay, I'm around for 1 year, but like to have the Portland State and the U of O and all the different CNAFME chapters actually finally kind of coordinate at a state level, I think would be phenomenal. And they're going to be colleagues, right? We're all going to be colleagues. So I think that's where the value would be for me.
Okay, those are good thoughts. Hey, Danielle, welcome. We're the question right now we're talking about, hey, Dan, is what we're talking about is how do we support music ed students and involving them in OBDA? That's like the first kind of topic that we're just kind of just throwing around. And so thanks for that, Tristan. That's really helpful. What are the thoughts that we have? One of the things that Pat brought up in the email, because he couldn't be here, but he did type out some thoughts, is, it was, I guess, along the lines of what Tristan was saying, where he's not sure that it is something they have to be involved in, because like he was saying, that there are collegiate chapters in NAFME, and OMEA is a great place for them to connect and look at directors and see sessions. So is OBDA the right place to be able to try to get them to join another organization when, I mean, they're just trying to get through school. They have enough stuff going on. So it was one of the thoughts that he shared, which it's kind of the same sentiment that I have, because I'm not 100% sure what we can offer college students that is not being already offered in, their chapters and the NAFME chapters in the universities, and that OMEA is not providing. So I don't know if anybody has some reasons why, some compelling reasons why we should in that.
I guess I don't have an answer. I think maybe clarifying point would be to ask something like, how is OBDA different than OMEA? In other words, like, regardless of college students, what does this organization do or provide for professionals who are already in the field that OMEA is different from OMEA? So, and then that can be extended to maybe to college students. I honestly don't know if I could answer that question myself. So I'd love to hear if people have thoughts about what the relationship between the two organizations is, or if they provide different communities or services or etc.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay? Somebody asked me that yesterday. Actually, somebody texted me and said, I see that there's a jazz sight reading session. Let me know if you need any help organizing it.
That was me.
Oh, you're there. Okay, great. Doug, hi. And I said, does it say somewhere that I'm organizing it? Because I didn't know anything about it, but it's an OBDA thing, and I'm the jazz chair with OMEA. And then Doug was like, well, what is the difference? And I wasn't really sure that I could answer that question of what the difference is. And I know that OBDA, I feel like, and I still consider myself kind of new here, even though it's been 7 years, but I guess that's not new anymore. But OBDA seems to be more active recently than it was prior when I first came out here, and I think that's great. So I think a lot of those definitions maybe are still in the works, and I don't know enough about the history of it to know why one was established in addition to the other, but maybe that might be a good place to look to find out what exactly each role was. And that's my time.
That's a good point, because as someone that I've only been in the state 3 years. I mean, I'm relatively new here too, and so it's something I didn't really understand. And even now, like Evan asked me to be the collegiate representative, I'm like, I'm sure, I'm happy to help, help and serve. And one of the things was, can you be at the booth and tell people what OBDA can do for them? And I don't know the answer. Like, I don't know what we do besides host festivals, right? I mean, is there anything else that we do besides host festivals? Eric says no.
Not
Well,
that I am aware
I
of.
think that, Dennis, you and I are just probably equally as confused about OBDA. And I think that, the kind of echoing what Dan was saying was, like, I just feel like there's just, there's no clear like delineation between OMEA and OBDA. And OBDA kind of exists, sometimes in conjunction with OMEA and sometimes like, kind of separated from it. And, talking with Ben Lawson, basically he was telling me that the big things that they used to do were this summer reading session and, kind of like the adjudicator workshops.
Okay.
And that's really all I know. Maybe someone can, inform us and enlighten us more, but.
I mean, yeah, I can tell you a little bit. So I am the new mentorship chair, and I'm going to be organizing all the different regions and making sure that everybody has mentors. And I talked to Ben and Evan about that, and they're wanting to make that a really big part of what OBDA does, especially for collegiate students who are going out into their first jobs. So that was something I wanted to talk about in a later question. But in the past, I'm from Florida, so we had FMEA and FBA, and FMEA was kind of just one time a year we would go to the music festival and everyone was there, but we were very, very active with the Band Directors Association, specifically because we did something very, very different from everybody else. And so that's my understanding of this state as well, is that directors are able to focus more on this year round, and then OMEA is kind of a once a year thing. We hang out with all of our music friends.
Right. I got you. Well, it's interesting because it does say, like, one of the topics that he wanted us to discuss was professional development opportunities. And you're right, because I'm from Florida too, so I know that that's basically FMEA was just, we went to the state convention every year in Tampa and just hung out. But otherwise, everything, all the assessments, all the festivals that we went to were all part of FBA. And it seems like that might be the distinction of what we have here, on that. But FBA did provide some professional development opportunities, and that's something that I was curious. Like, do we have something that we provide, and is it by district or region? Because that I think could be really killer if there's professional development days that coincide with multiple schools. Maybe a teacher work day that always coincides with one specific weekend. Heck, we can do rotating sites, and Eric's band could be there one year, and everybody go. We invite a bunch of directors to come to OSU, and they get to work with them. And we maybe do open rehearsals or have them conduct. I mean, there's like a plethora of things we can do, and have the applied faculty do, like, hey, when your trumpet player sounds like this is the problem. These are the steps to take to make them better. And then we can rotate that around everywhere, and have that at a bunch of sites, Mount Hood, Lane, everywhere, just to make sure that we get equal representation on that. But I don't know. Does anybody know how professional development days work, or teacher work days, or how those coincide?
It varies district to district around the state. I know that it's more active in like the Salem area, and it could be more active up in like Beaverton, up in the, Portland area. Down here, it's like, who knows what's going to happen with a PD day. It's usually, my wife, I used to teach high school out here. My wife still teaches high school. They never know what the heck's going to happen on a PD day. And it's never like to help you develop yourself in your own craft, but it's like, here's what the district's just going to have you go do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so there aren't any music PD days. There's like one or maybe two here in the Eugene, Springfield area. But there's nothing that's like a big come together. And so
I don't think there are any across Yeah, so that's what I was going to talk about. We ran an in-service day, and it was corresponding with, it was like alternating years, the professional development day for Portland Public Schools and for Salem Public Schools or something like that, because those were the two biggest districts that gave specific days to go do stuff. And it was like all the chem teachers in the district would get together and do stuff, but all the music teachers go do stuff, right? We used to put one of those together. I don't know if we are intending on starting that back up again, but yeah, we would do that every single year.
And how did you coordinate? Did you just act? Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
Oh, as I said, I can give some background on that. We did that twice. The issue, it was nice. The issue was that, so Salem has traditionally offered a pretty substantial workshop on that day. That's a big draw. I don't think we were necessarily attempting to compete with that, but to offer something different or extra. I have to say, the reason it stopped is it's extremely expensive to bring in quality people. And the funding for that was not coming from anywhere other than from our like internal OSU budget. And it was somewhat subsidized by like registration fees, but I think we ran a loss on that both years. And it was just like, this isn't sustainable to put, I mean, I think it ended up costing something like $7,000 or $8,000, to bring in three pretty big name people, one in band, one in choir, one in general music. And when you're asking someone to pay, I don't know, $75, it didn't even go really to cover all the expenses. And so we were just basically running a charity event, which I'd love to be able to do, just wasn't sustainable from a financial perspective. So anyway, that's that ended about 4 years ago now. I think was the last one that we did.
Gotcha.
I had a lot of fun though.
It was fun.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, having everybody over there would be great. All right, see you.
What would bring people out? What would draw our public educators to come out? I mean, like it feels like it's especially down in our area. It's just declining. Fewer and fewer music teachers across the board are going out to events. Fewer and fewer from my area are even just going to like Allstate, OMEA. They're not.
OMEA is also kind of like, it is not my intention to dunk on OMEA in any capacity here, but it is not the greatest conference in the world. Right, like people I know, there are people who I know who will go to CASMEC or to Midwest, but not go to OMEA.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I guess to answer the question, what would get people out? It's the same thing that gets people out to anything, a societal understanding that something is valuable. And it won't happen in a year if we decide to do something. If we decide to do something, we should probably say, let's commit to doing this 4 years at these locations with these people on these days, and then talk about it after that. Because I would be willing to bet that 10 people come to the first one.
Yeah.
Can I just bring up something? I think Ben Lawson, he said that this summer we're restarting the summer reading workshop. And my original thought, was to get like us to conduct, one of those on each of those days. That way, as Dennis was saying, we get the full representation of all the college groups, all the college band directors, all the college teachers. But I think it'd be really cool if like we ran like some sort of workshop, in that kind of concentrated summer workshop time. Another thought, would be, just having like, these just kind of like weekly, or not even weekly, but like maybe like a monthly gathering. I don't know. Just so we like just connect with each other a little bit more. I think it's just so important just to know what everyone else is doing, and the issues that we're all experiencing and stuff like that. So in the interest of community.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Eric and I have been trying to figure out how to get coffee together for a while, and somehow the dates just never work out. I was lucky enough that I was able to hang out with Danielle and Dan for a little bit because they invited me up, which was super gracious, but we have to do more than that. I agree. But I do like the idea of the summer reading session, just having us, be a part of it and helping with that. I'm 100% in favor.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest it to Ben that basically all the conductors are us, at least for this first year. That way, like, the directors that maybe don't know us, get to work with us, and we get to just kind of lead people through new repertoire, for grades 1 all the way to 6. So
yeah. And so who's the ensemble for that?
So according to Ben, it's basically the directors.
Okay.
So
like what Wibbick does.
Yeah.
We used to do something like that down in the Bay Area.
Yeah, kind of like Wibbick.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tristan.
I went to the last one, and it's just director band. It's great. It was so fun. Like I went to one and then it stopped because Beacock basically footed the whole thing themselves, and it wasn't sustainable, like you said, but it's phenomenal. And they would bring in retired band directors and that kind of thing to conduct it. They never really had. I don't know if Danielle, you were involved in it at any point, but like I don't remember having some big hot shot like from out of state come in to.
It was just local people that would direct each other or retired directors.
But the jazz one, and I think this was like the guy like Phil who would organize it. He brought in a Yamaha artist, Andy Martin, played trombone in the band with us, which was super fun, and that was cool. But yeah, it was just local retired educators and things like that, college directors. So
well, I think it'd be hard to bring in. Oh, sorry about that, Doug. I think it'd be hard to convince someone, like if we called Jerry Junket, hey, can you come in to do this reading band?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he'd laugh at me.
Yeah.
But if there's something in conjunction, if there was another part of it, where it becomes some kind of a lab or something, I definitely see the value in trying to bring in someone for sure. Sorry, Doug, you were going to say something.
Well, I'm just kind of coming back to where the first question was, what can we offer to college students? I think this is a great opportunity for our music ed students to come out because a lot of them are taking like literature classes. What's out there? When we were in college, it was like, what's around? What were our directors conducting? What was like the yellow papered music, and it's like all that stuff, the dusty music. But now, if we're going to be highlighting new music, I think this is a great chance for our college students to come out, join us, and meet high school directors, because a lot of them are going to start student teaching in the next few years. They can start networking. This is a great moment for that. And like, they don't have to, I think they shouldn't have to pay to come to this. They just come, hang out, meet people, network, play. Yeah.
I think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, I do think the steeper the cost, whether it is time or money, the steeper the cost to attend something like this, the fewer people will take advantage, for sure.
So, do we charge for the reading session? Is that something?
I don't think so.
No. I don't think so.
Wait, do we?
I think on the flyer it said for the week, it's $100 for the week.
Oh.
Or $25 a day.
Yeah, $25 a day.
So.
Okay, and is this in the model where like Beacock is putting on a whole thing? I only have the reference point from the ones that I would go to in the Bay and Sacramento, and it was really like the host site would have a little work day and put together parts for 30 pieces, and it was all day. We'd do one every 15 minutes for 2 straight days, and but it was all come. It was show up, do the thing. It was very, I don't know. It was very, let's all figure this out, more than this is an event.
Well, is anyone here on that committee? I mean, does anyone know?
The man himself.
I mean, technically, we're hosting it. I forgot that we charge money because technically we don't. I mean, we're not charging OBDA to use the facilities at OSU. So I'm not sure about the cost. Maybe that goes towards, doesn't go towards me.
Does
So
it,
I'm gonna say
does
that
it go
right
towards
away.
the music? Is it just the purchase of music?
Well, maybe so we're doing like kind of like two kinds of music. So we're gonna go through JW Pepper. I think it may go towards that, but I spoke to Sean Murphy at Murphy Press,
Uh-huh.
and they're just gonna give us music, and we're gonna send it back after we're done with it.
Okay.
I don't know. I can check into the Pepper side of it. So I'm gonna write that down and I'll report back about
Yeah,
that.
the flyer that got distributed definitely had a registration fee, so that, you know, I didn't have any frame of reference for that was normal or not, but I was thinking as you were, I was talking, looking at the schedule that was sent out, which was like it's like 9 to 4 every day or something. Which seems like a lot of time for 5 days, but I thought maybe there could be like a session each, like a I don't even, it could be anything. It could be a symposium conducting workshop kind of thing, or it could be like Eric gives a presentation on one of his things and Dennis gives a thing on one of his, you know, something that you would do at an OME or Midwest or whatever, just an hour, so that there's something more than just playing. I don't even know if people would like that, but
That's a lot of chop time. That's a lot
it is. I agree.
Especially at summer.
Yeah. I agree, Eric. I think man, if people are paying, like we got to figure out how to do more than that, because if people are paying to sit there and play from 9 to 4 for 5, that's rough. That's tough. So I mean, yeah, it would be good to see if we can break that up and get clinics involved or something that makes that more of a bigger event, you know, where you know, and then heck, you know, and then like maybe some roundtable discussions where people start talking about what they do. Like maybe Todd talks about some of the things that he did this year, or you know, latest things, and you know, Brandon Hansen says some stuff. Like, you know, we just get more people involved, because I mean, there are a lot of directors that would love to learn from just peers that they respect, you know. So I think all these things could be really great, and I'd be happy to do a session too. I mean, you know, of something I can talk about. But I think also involving just some of the public school teachers that are really successful, that everybody looks up to do something would be really beneficial too.
I have a meeting with Ben about this, and so I'll bring this all up to him. So
yeah, I agree, Tristan. 5 days of that—that's a lot of music. I mean, you got a lot of music. I mean, what are they doing? Maslanka 4, 5, 6. I mean, 10. Like each piece, like that's a lot of playing.
I remember not making it through the list. Like we didn't make it through the whole list the year I was there. We made it through half the jazz list and like 2/3 of the concert list. So
the way that Ben explained it to me was that the reason why they're doing the 5 days, especially for the concert band side, so the Monday is like the first, it's just jazz. The Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are concert band.
Okay.
And the Friday is adjudicator workshop.
Got it.
So the 3 days that we have for concert band, Ben said like we can break it up however we want, and I think this would be a great opportunity for us, you know, as the collegiate directors, you know, to,
people.
just to like do something with them, like other than playing, would be awesome.
Well, and even like, you know, a rehearsal workshop, you know, maybe in the middle of it we do just some stuff that we all know, you know, like an Irish tune rehearsal workshop, you know, or something, just something that we don't even have to like kill ourselves putting together, like a Salvation is Created, you know, or something, that things that they can do with their bands, pieces that are not like, you know, things that we're doing with like our top wind ensembles or anything. I think that'd be pretty helpful. You know, I would love to do that.
Yeah, agreed. Is that something, I mean, could I like, would anyone, you know, Dennis sounds like he's interested. Anyone else?
When is this thing?
August 1st through 5th.
Yeah, I'm here.
But I mean, if you're interested, you could just email me. No pressure.
I'm already registered, so I'll send you some ideas. Like I was super excited to see it coming back. So
cool. Okay. Good.
So
I think these are great ideas, actually. I think it's really great. Okay. I like that. Wesley, I was going to ask you earlier, when you were talking about the professional development that you used to partner with some of the districts, who were your contacts for those? Who were people that you would speak to in those districts to coordinate and maybe figure out how to be a part of them? Would you have?
Yeah, it wasn't anything to do with the districts. It was really just an OSU event that we invited. I mean, it was open to anybody, but we basically did it all ourselves.
It wasn't in association with a district. It just happened to be on their PD day, and like that was very intentional. But right,
that's right. We knew that people had the day off, and we certainly advertised it to like our local teachers in like Corvallis, Albany, but we also, tried to make it available to anybody. So like, so that there is a district chair, I guess I would call them, for each, area of the state. But we didn't really coordinate with OMEA at all, or OBDA.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
It was basically Chris Chapman calling his friend and being like, "Do you want to come out in October?" And Steve Zilke doing the same thing, and yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. The other topic he wanted us to talk about is how do we keep students playing past high school in music programs? How do we get that word out? That's a huge open-ended topic.
Yeah.
This is something that I think about all the time. Like, I've talked Wes and Eric's ear off with this, so pardon me, fellas. But there was a lit review a few years ago from the guy who was at Valdosta State like 10 years ago, but I can't remember who it was. They presented on it at Athletics Virginia, if you were at that one. But basically it was like summarizing surveys with similar style questions, and the big takeaway was that people don't necessarily, if they're not music majors, choose the school that they're going to based on the qualities of a band program at that school. And what that tells me is that there are so many people at all of our universities who played band in high school who do not play band in college. I think the levers that this group of people can pull probably accounts for 20% of that gap. I think the other 80% of that gap is what they hear in their high school classrooms. And I don't know how to address that very effectively.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
Because like we could say all we want, like every time I'm talking to high schoolers, I'm like, when you go to college, like there's a band there, like play in that band. But I think they hear that once or twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
I have a bunch of friends that I've worked with in the past that have been that have taught high school, where a lot of their students, like there's a handful, because of it's a quality program, very quality program that they have in high school, but the level of burnout in high school, because of their such a demanding high school experience. They're doing this festival, and they're this fundraising thing. It's just, it takes up all of their time, and that's what they think band is.
I know on the marching side of things, I talked to a lot of students, like half of all my recruiting talks with prospective students is finding students who did the high school band thing and really didn't like the intensity of it and didn't like the competitiveness of it, and they don't want to do that anymore, so they don't do college band, and trying to convince them that it's not that thing. Right. And students who did that and loved it and want to keep doing that and join the band, and they're disappointed by the different experience. Like swapping those two populations is like all the work that I do.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because sorry, Tristan, I'm just reading your comment there. Yeah.
That was super frustrating because we needed that person.
It's funny because I dealt with this a little bit when I was teaching in Texas, because there, I mean, the burnout is it's pretty real, and so. And even when I was in Louisiana, we recruit a lot of Texas kids, and it was kind of the same. I'm not sure if I ever found a formula that can really, fix that, other than I think with what we mentioned is connections, like real meaningful connections with the high school directors, and making sure that the high school directors are informed that, hey, we have a campus band, and we also have, a second band and a top band. So we have, whatever level of involvement they want to do, there's a way. Like our campus band meets once a week, that's it, and there's no extra things, and one concert a term, easy. And I think all of us have something equitable to that, so and so I think, making sure that the directors are informed, so that, because directors have a lot of influence of what kids do, whether they have a terrible experience with them and they never want to do music, or they're people that inspired them, and they want to keep doing it. So I think that might be one avenue to make sure that they are informed as to what we do. And I don't know if maybe our posters that go out, that each of us send out, to different programs, maybe that says like all the ways they could be involved in band or something. I don't know.
I think Dennis, you like totally hit on the head. Like I think that like giving people those options, and like making sure that there's like different avenues, for people to select, what they want to do. And Olin and I have been talking a lot about this, but I think at the collegiate level, and maybe this is like more so just for myself as a realization, but like to really think about like building communities and thinking, and again, this is just like me thing, so I'm just gonna say this, I literally just realized this year, what it meant to be like a director of bands versus the director of the wind ensemble. And then like, because for the longest time I was like, oh, I'm the director of bands, but really I was focused on the wind ensemble, and I wasn't focused on anything else. And so like I think for myself, this year has been about just building those communities, making sure that like, the fourth trumpet player in the bottom band, or like the last trumpet player in the marching band still like gets a little bit of my attention, just like building those communities. And I think like for, at least for myself, making sure that every kid, regardless of whatever ensemble they're playing in, feels like they're like connected to something bigger. So that's been my realization for this year.
Yeah, if I may, I think you're hitting on it, Eric, too. It's the community. I mean, like the students, and I say this having had conversations now with multiple of the seniors at Sherwood High School, where I'm at right now, and just asking, it's like, what are you doing next year? Oh, you're not studying music. Well, like they say that like I'm gonna be upset. Like, and then it's like, okay, you're going to this college, are you gonna play? And this great, trombone players, like, I don't know. And what I really like when I dig in and I find it's like they're used to playing with their friends, and it's just like when they come up from middle school, elementary school, and it's like I don't know anyone. Like I don't, and if they're the student where like their friend from 2 years ago who's already at that university is playing in the marching band, like they're like, okay, I'm gonna go play. Yep. But if they don't know anyone, they're at a loss. And when we were building the university band here at PSU, we got it to the point where it was bursting the walls, and we're like, do we need another band? Like, and COVID hit. But like, it was because it was word of mouth. It was like, you get one kid in there adult, they're adults here. You get the adult in there, and then like, they tell their friend, and they're like, they tell their friend, and they're like, why don't you come play in the band with me? And then the next one shows up, and the next one, and the next one, and they just start coming, and hey, is there a spot for me? And I think it's the community. It's really, that's why it's like they're great musicians, great. But like when they come up to college, like if they don't know someone, if somebody doesn't connect with them, then it's the void that they're stepping into.
Yeah. What you're describing is a level change, and like a thing that everybody knows in music, in education, is that you lose the most students between level changes. 5th grade to junior high, 8th grade to ninth grade, right? That's when people drop off. And within a district, you have these handoff scenarios where those teachers know each other, they work together. The group from the thing will do a concert at the other thing. They'll bring the students up to do a thing. They'll say, okay, how are you signing up for this thing for the next year? None of that exists because it's such a widespread thing, and it narrows dramatically into much fewer institutions. And so that handoff doesn't happen, right? And I think you're absolutely right that it's like there's a reason that like a disproportionate number of my marching band kids are from North Bend High School out on the coast. That is not a large program, but they all do marching band in college. And I think half of it is exactly what you're saying, right? Half of it is like they all know someone who's in this band because they next year are going to be the person that someone from that high school knows in that band, right? But half of it is the teacher tells people to play in groups, you know? So how do we do that? How do we make that handoff work other than just asking the teachers in the state to talk about it? I don't know.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I used to have before, again, when I was running a marching band, we had a requirement. We would do section leader auditions before the season was over, and they were announced at the bowl game. And one of their responsibilities was to go to their old high school and speak to their old programs. And it kind of talks about what you're doing. So they see, you know, some of the cool kids that were in band that are already in college. They come back and they start talking to them, you know, and that really did, provide a lot of opportunities for us. I've never thought about approaching, you know, the concert side the same, but why wouldn't it be the same? It should be the same thing. It just seems like, you know, most people think about recruiting, they think about developing leadership, they think about all these things in the marching band side, but they never really apply to their concert, which is one of the things that I do. I do that a lot in the concert band side. So maybe that's something that we can probably do, you know, just giving students just some kind of a, you know, an assignment or something, you know, at some point within 3 terms, you have to go to your old high school and you got to provide, you know, set up an outreach. Maybe you think about it like as chamber music or something. There's a lot of ways that we can sort of incentivize it for the really serious music students. And then for the kids that are doing it more recreationally, or the students that are doing recreationally, they can just do it just, you know, for the sake of fun, you know, to go out and reconnect with their old teachers and future students. So I think that's a good idea.
I do think it's a little bit easier for, not easier, but like students who are intending on studying music are pretty, I don't say like in the weeds, but they pay attention more than other students do, right? A student who is a high school senior who is wanting to study music will talk to their music teacher about where they should go to do that. And that music teacher will work with them and find a spot that works and matches their personality type, what their goals are, all this kind of stuff. That doesn't happen for the students who are not playing, students who are not studying, you know? Yeah.
Okay. With some good thoughts shared. I mean, obviously we're not going to fix anything
yeah,
in one day.
I love how Pat put it in the list, like, hey, if you guys figure this out, you let me know.
Yeah.
You know?
But this is great. I mean, I never see a lot of you, you know, so it's actually great. We should do this a lot more often, because I would love to sit down, you know, with you guys and Eric, some of the things that you realized this year to build your community and what have you done and what's worked. And I would love to steal stuff from everybody, you know, because everybody here is really smart and committed. So I think this would be really good to keep going. So, but I don't want to take too much of your time. It's a Wednesday night in the middle of all of our busy stuff. So the last thing that he wanted me to forward along is a concert band festival host survey. For anybody hosting any festival. So since I know, Eric, that you do, I'm just going to put the link here in the chat. Okay, if you guys wouldn't mind filling it out.
Well, sorry, go ahead, Dennis.
And then I will email it out to everybody again with kind of a recap of some of the things that we talked about today. But you were to say something?
Well, yeah, you know, I think this is something that I would love to bring up to all of you here.
Yeah.
Is, you know, my issues with the competitive band festival here in Oregon. and you know, now that I mean, not now that but since we host one, it's just it grates on me all the time, you know, hosting this festival. And you know, I brought up the idea that we would go non-competitive for next year, and similar to like the OSU or similar to the U of O Jazz Festival. You know, something super non-competitive, very educational. And I received some big pushback, you know, from the directors, you know. And so I'm just curious, like, am I alone on this thought about the whole competitive thing, or should I just like stop? I don't know.
I'm right with you, because sometimes it feels like qualifying for the Olympics. That's all it feels like. It is Olympic banding. And what's the for what though? Is it just to go to state and get a piece of plastic screwed to a piece of wood?
Right.
I mean, is that it? But like, what else can we offer? There's so many other experiences for teachers to take their students to, things that will qualify them for state. What if we offer them something that it's just an experience? At the Oregon Jazz Festival that we host, it's you go and you play, and then you get some great clinics, and then you get some sectional work. And that's it. Comments and clinics and sectional work. And then it's that. And
so I'm gonna, is it okay if I just keep on going?
Yes.
So you talked about the state competition. Sorry, guys.
I've been very involved in that conversation, being on the OMEA board, and it's a tough one. And I think the main sticking point right now is that, and there are other layers to it, but you know, there's money tied into being part of OSAA, and OSAA views it as something that needs to have a winner because it's a sports organization. That's kind of how they look that's the lens they look through. It's not clear yet if that's negotiable. But people are very afraid that if we are not part of OSAA, that they won't get money for buses, and that's the strongest argument that I've heard. You know, but I Eric, you know that I'm not for it, but I'm a music ed guy. I'm not a band guy, so I have to it's like, okay, nerd, go write your papers. You know, I have to be that. But like Rick and I have talked, you know, some about that, and I'd love to hear what Rick has to say, because Rick won state a couple years ago. You didn't mean to, but you did.
Oh, we don't.
But you know, I mean, it's a lot of people have a lot invested in that.
Yeah, I can't.
They just do.
I just shake my head, and I did it when I was teaching high school, but I really tried to balance teaching music versus teaching technique, and really try to be a music educator. You know, the teaching through performance books, and you know, teach the students about what's going on in the music. And but this competition thing is frightening, because I don't get it. Because I get so frustrated. So it's about the conductors. It's like so many of them want to be competitive, because the winning is great, I guess. For the conductor, for the teacher anyway. But I'm not sure what the students get out of it, except they get to say they won. And so many administrators are fooled. They think it's a good thing for their school. And I don't understand why. Why is that a good thing for your school? I mean, if it's the University of Oregon and they're the winners, then they're going to get recruits. But it's not that way in public education, so I don't understand what administrators think they're getting from having a winning anything. So yes, I'm with you on this, and having lived it was the reason I eventually got out of it. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't deal with it anymore.
That survey, did you guys see that survey that they passed out? I mean, the choral people are ahead of us on this. They're like, no,
Yes, they
we're
are.
done. We're over it. It was like 80% of the people that responded were like ready to move to a rating system, which that still has its flaws, but comparing schools is just something I can't
It
get
doesn't
behind.
make any sense. It's
I just
apples and
can't do
oranges.
it. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I'm new, and Rick, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you. I've heard so many great things, and especially in research before I got to this state. But one of the things I think is important to incite change, because Eric, I totally get where directors are coming from. When they're like rebelling, anything change, like they get upset. And usually, if you want to do change like that, it has to come from the people that are most involved. And so, if you assemble an advisory team of the most influential directors in the state, and you get like the Jeremy Zanders and Todd Zimmelman and Brandon Hansons to say, we're not 100% sure we want to do this anymore, we would like to move to this. There's a very different reaction than one of us saying something, because they're like, oh, well, there's the high and mighty, Eric,
right,
OSU,
or like the nuclear option. I was just going to blow everything up.
And so I think everything that comes from an advisory, I always do that with whenever I try to do any change within the ensemble or within a program. If there's an advisory council that know the rationale, that they're part of that decision, the decision always goes over a lot easier. So maybe that's the way, you just, or several of us just do a meeting, with several of the, the most influential directors in the state, and just say, let's think about this. And it probably won't go over well, and Rick, you probably know them, what that's going to be as it is.
Not go over well.
But here's one thing I have to say. I don't mean to interrupt one more time, but Eric, one reason that I feel is important to not have a competitive event is that after high school, it's not competitive.
Yeah.
When you go to college, there's no competition.
Competitive anywhere.
No competition.
Yeah.
Like, if you were a music major, there will be some competition, like you trying to get a job, that kind. There'll be competition like you trying to get a spot in a symphony or a band, but that's a you competition. And it's not a whole band competition. We work the same 3 pieces for however long. It's just, I think it's good for people to know that you can have something that's not competition, because it won't always be that outside of high school.
One of the people that I was talking to, I won't mention any names, but basically they were saying that if OSU did it, it would either be like a huge trickle effect, for the rest of the people, be like, okay, well now that they did it, we're gonna have the security of a university doing it, and now we can do it too. Or it would just like basically diminish our festival, and everyone else would just go to something else. Mm-hmm. And so I haven't figured it out which one. I mean, I prefer the first one, but just don't know.
Dennis, I really like your idea of like trying to involve people, because I do think we always run that risk of being like the ivory tower people. I mean, I know I'm one of those people. And so that might be something that we can do, right? Like to invite some, like in just this forum, like just kind of a preliminary conversation, maybe like as instead of, or in lead up to doing something like at OMEA, which is more public, just trying to understand better why there's so much investment in this, where there's nobody having to, people feel free to speak their mind, I guess, in like a more low pressure situation. Because I mean, I'd really love to hear from Todd or Jeremy, like why is this a good idea? Like, convince me. I'm open to, things I don't understand, but I think about it all the time. And our students that come from those programs are generally not happy about their experience. I mean, some of them are, but some of them are like, man, it was rough, and so I'd love to see that change. But
and there's a lot of teachers too that if they don't make it to that next, if they don't make it into the pool, if they don't make it, what do they do to themselves?
Well, they consider themselves like a year
Themselves that rubs off on their students. It's a lose-lose.
Yeah.
If they don't make it to finals.
Yeah.
I just
It's illogical, and they can't get past it. Whatever it is, they can't get past it.
Well, I will say I don't want to cut the meeting short, but I do have I have to go to campus because I have a concert I have to go to tonight. So this is awesome though. I will be in touch soon to see if we can do a follow up in maybe in the summer or getting started before the year or something like that. But I appreciate everybody being here, and sharing their thoughts. It's really great to see everyone and to be able to chat a little bit. So
good to see you guys.
Yeah.
great talking to you guys.
Everyone take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.